Chosen one, there is something about your life that cannot be explained by ordinary reasoning. You have felt it for years, even when you did not have the language to describe it. Something about your presence unsettles certain environments. Something about your decisions seems to provoke resistance that others around you do not experience. And at times you wondered if it meant something was wrong with you. But the truth is far different from what you feared. You carry something unseen. Not something mystical in the way the world talks about power, but something far deeper and far more sacred. You carry the mark of belonging, a spiritual identity that heaven recognizes and darkness cannot ignore. And this is why your journey has often felt different from those around you. From the outside, people only see your daily life. They see your work, your routines, your ordinary responsibilities. But in the unseen realm, your life carries significance. Your faith carries weight. Your obedience sends signals that you may not even realize. And that unseen identity has consequences. If this message resonates with your spirit already, take a moment right now to like this video and subscribe to The Chosen Star. This channel exists to strengthen faith, awaken purpose, and remind chosen ones that their story is not random. Your journey matters, and together we grow stronger in truth and understanding. Now listen closely. Many chosen ones spend years wondering why they face unusual resistance, why certain doors close without explanation, why certain people react negatively before they even know them, why seasons of testing seem longer than expected. You may have experienced moments when you felt targeted by discouragement, moments when it felt like the pressure around your life increased just as you were trying to move forward. That experience is not unfamiliar to those who walk closely with God. When light enters a dark space, darkness reacts immediately. It does not negotiate, it does not welcome the change. It withdraws or it resists. And when someone carries the presence of God in their life, that light becomes impossible for darkness to ignore. You may not see the mark, but the spiritual realm recognizes it. This mark is not visible on your skin, yet it rests upon your life as a declaration of identity. It says that you belong to God. It declares that your life is not unclaimed territory. It announces that your purpose is not open for negotiation with forces that oppose God's will. And this is why your journey has often included battles others did not understand. You may have felt different from a young age, drawn toward deeper questions about purpose, sensitive to right and wrong in ways that others ignored, feeling uncomfortable in environments where truth was treated lightly. You may have walked away from situations that everyone else considered normal because something inside you refused to settle. That inner conviction was not weakness, it was guidance. The Creator knows those who belong to Him. He recognizes them long before the world does. And when He places His hand on someone's life, their path begins to move in ways that reflect that calling, even when the person themselves does not fully understand it yet. Many chosen ones go through long seasons where they feel overlooked. They watch others advance quickly, while their own progress seems slow. They remain faithful while others compromise and appear to succeed faster. And during those seasons, it is easy to question whether faithfulness is truly worth it. But what you did not see during those quiet years was preparation. God was shaping your character, strengthening your patience, expanding your understanding, teaching you to stand firm even when recognition was absent. Because purpose without preparation can destroy a person as quickly as opposition can. You were not being delayed without reason. You were being formed. And the mark that rests on your life carries responsibility. It means your life will not always follow the patterns you see around you. It means your growth may involve seasons of separation. It means you may be called to walk away from certain opportunities because they do not align with your assignment. That kind of obedience can feel costly. But every time you chose truth over convenience, that unseen mark became stronger in its authority. Every time you resisted the pressure to compromise, you strengthened your spiritual foundation. Every time you trusted God, even when outcomes were uncertain, you reinforced the identity placed upon your life. The world often measures success through speed and visibility, but heaven measures it through faithfulness. Faithfulness when no one is applauding. Faithfulness when results are slow. Faithfulness when the path requires courage instead of comfort. Chosen one, the resistance you experienced was not random misfortune. It was confirmation that your life carries influence in the unseen realm. Darkness reacts strongly when someone begins to walk in alignment with God's purpose. But here is the truth that brings peace. The mark placed on your life is not just about recognition, it is also about protection. God does not claim a life and then abandon it. When He sets someone aside, He also watches over them. Not that they will never face challenges, but that those challenges will never have the final word. You may have faced moments when things could have ended differently, moments when danger passed closer than you realized, moments when circumstances shifted just in time, moments when wisdom guided you away from choices that could have caused lasting harm. Those were not coincidences. They were reminders that the hand of God was still upon you. The mark you carry does not make you superior to others. It does not make you immune to difficulty, but it does mean your life is guided by a purpose larger than your own plans. And when darkness senses that purpose awakening, it reacts with fear. Because the greatest threat to darkness is a person who discovers who they truly are in God. A person who refuses to live in fear. A person who refuses to compromise truth. A person who refuses to surrender their calling. Chosen one, you are not wandering through life without direction. Your story is connected to a greater design. The unseen mark on your life is proof that heaven has already claimed your future. And as your understanding grows, that identity will become the foundation of your strength. But this raises an important question. Why does darkness often recognize this calling before people around you do?
Chosen one. The reason darkness often reacts to you before people even recognize your calling is because the spiritual realm responds to identity faster than the natural world does. Human beings usually evaluate what they can see. They measure success by appearance, status, influence, or achievements. But the unseen realm operates differently. It recognizes authority long before it becomes visible. This is why some of the battles you faced seemed confusing. You may have asked yourself many times, why is this happening to me? You tried to live with integrity. You tried to avoid trouble. You tried to stay focused on doing what was right. Yet opposition still appeared. Pressure still increased. Disappointment still came unexpectedly. It is easy in those moments to think you are being singled out unfairly. But often the deeper reality is that your life carries spiritual significance that others around you cannot see yet. When light enters a place that has been comfortable in darkness, the environment reacts immediately. The light does not need to speak loudly. It does not need to prove anything. Its presence alone changes the atmosphere. In the same way, when someone begins walking in alignment with God's purpose, their presence begins to expose things that were previously hidden. This is why certain people felt uncomfortable around you without clear reason. Your desire for honesty challenged environments built on deception. Your commitment to truth disrupted conversations built on compromise. Your conviction made others aware of choices they were not ready to confront. None of that required you to attack anyone. It simply required you to remain faithful. And sometimes faithfulness makes others uneasy because it reminds them of a standard they would rather avoid. But the reaction you experienced was not always coming from people alone. Spiritual resistance is real. When someone begins to step into deeper alignment with God, opposition often increases. Not because God has abandoned them, but because their growth is becoming dangerous to the influence of darkness. You may remember seasons when discouragement appeared suddenly, moments when doubt became louder than usual, times when opportunities seemed to collapse just as you were preparing to move forward. Those seasons can make anyone question their direction. Yet many chosen ones later discover that those moments were actually turning points. The pressure they felt was often connected to the progress they were making. Darkness resists the advancement of those who carry light. But resistance does not mean defeat. It simply means your presence is affecting something. This is where understanding the unseen mark becomes important. Because the mark represents more than identity, it also represents ownership. When God places his claim on a life, that life is no longer without protection. It is not wandering without guidance. It becomes part of a larger purpose, and the Creator takes responsibility for what belongs to him. That does not mean the journey becomes easy. Even those called by God in the past faced seasons of testing, misunderstanding, and waiting. Many of them were overlooked before their purpose became visible. Some were even rejected by the very people who later recognized their influence. But through every challenge, one thing remained consistent. God never lost track of them. He knew exactly where they were. He knew what they needed to learn. He knew when their season of preparation would end and their moment of influence would begin. The same truth applies to your life. The unseen mark you carry means that your story is being guided by divine awareness. You are not navigating this journey alone. Even in moments when you felt uncertain, God was still shaping the direction of your path. Many chosen ones struggle with the feeling of being different. They sense that their mindset does not match the crowd around them. They question why they feel called to deeper reflection, stronger discipline, or greater purpose, while others seem satisfied with ordinary routines. But that difference is not a mistake. It is part of your design. You were not created to simply follow every pattern you see around you. You were created to live with intention, to grow in wisdom, to walk in truth even when it requires courage. The mark on your life represents that calling. And the moment you begin to understand this truth, something powerful begins to happen. Fear starts to lose its grip. Doubt begins to weaken. You stop measuring your life by the opinions of others and begin measuring it by the purpose God has placed inside you. Confidence grows, not because you feel superior, but because you finally understand who you belong to. The unseen mark also carries another meaning. It is not only about protection from harm, it is also about assignment. God does not place his claim on a life without intention. Every chosen person carries the potential to influence others in ways they may not expect. Sometimes that influence appears through leadership. Sometimes it appears through encouragement. Sometimes it appears through quiet acts of faithfulness that inspire others to seek God more deeply. But whatever form it takes, the purpose remains the same. Your life becomes a channel through which truth, hope, and strength reach others. That is why your journey required preparation. Influence without character can destroy both the person who receives it and the people affected by it. But when God prepares someone slowly, their foundation becomes strong enough to carry the weight of responsibility. Chosen one, the battles you fought were not meaningless struggles. They were part of the process that strengthened your spiritual authority. Every time you chose faith over fear, you reinforced the identity God placed on your life. Every time you remained faithful during difficulty, you proved that your trust in God was genuine. And that trust has power. Darkness does not tremble because of human strength alone. It trembles when someone walks with the authority that comes from belonging to God. It trembles when someone refuses to surrender their faith. It trembles when someone begins to understand that their life has purpose beyond the limits others tried to place on them. But this raises an even more important question. If the unseen mark represents identity, protection and assignment, how do you fully step into the authority that comes with it?
Chosen one, understanding that you carry an unseen mark from God is powerful, but understanding it is only the beginning. The real transformation begins when you start living with the confidence that comes from that identity. Because many people believe in God, yet still walk through life as if they are powerless. They pray for protection, but still live in fear. They hope for purpose, but still doubt that their lives truly matter. But when you recognize that God has placed His claim upon your life, your perspective begins to change. You stop seeing yourself as someone simply surviving circumstances. You begin to see yourself as someone guided by divine purpose. You stop reacting to every challenge with panic. Instead, you begin to ask what lesson or direction God may be revealing through the situation. That shift in mindset is where spiritual authority begins to grow. Authority is not about control over others. It is about alignment with God. The more your life aligns with His truth, the stronger your confidence becomes. Your prayers become more focused. Your decisions become more intentional. Your faith becomes steadier because it is rooted in relationship rather than emotion. Many chosen ones struggle for years because they underestimate the authority available to them through that relationship. They believe God exists, yet they still see themselves as weak and unqualified. They allow fear, doubt, and past mistakes to define their identity. But the mark placed on your life says something different. It says that your past does not determine your future. It says that your weaknesses can become places where God's strength is revealed. It says that your life has value beyond what others may have spoken over you. The enemy tries to keep people from realizing this truth because a person who understands their identity in God becomes difficult to control through fear. Fear loses its grip when you remember that God watches over those who belong to Him. Doubt loses its voice when you recognize that the one who created you also guides your path. Discouragement loses its power when you realize that even your hardest seasons were used to strengthen you. This is why strengthening your connection with God is the most important step in activating your spiritual authority. Prayer is not just a routine, it is communication with the one who placed the mark upon your life. It is where clarity grows. It is where wisdom replaces confusion. When you spend time speaking with God and listening for His guidance, your heart becomes steadier. You begin to see life through a different lens. Instead of asking why challenges exist, you begin asking how God will use them to shape you. Instead of assuming that every closed door means rejection, you begin trusting that some doors close because better ones are ahead. That perspective brings peace. Guarding your thoughts also becomes essential. The mind is often the first place where spiritual battles appear. Negative thoughts try to convince you that you are alone, that your efforts are meaningless, or that your purpose will never be fulfilled. But those thoughts do not reflect the truth of your identity. You must choose what voice you believe. When discouragement tries to take root, remind yourself that the mark on your life represents belonging. When doubt tries to rise, remember that God does not abandon the people He calls. When fear tries to dominate your thinking, remember the many times you were protected and guided, even when you did not realize it. Words also carry power. The way you speak about your life shapes the atmosphere around you. Speaking with faith does not mean ignoring challenges. It means refusing to let those challenges define your future. Instead of declaring defeat, declare trust in God's guidance. Instead of repeating the fears others speak, choose words that reflect hope and faith.
Your voice becomes a tool that strengthens your own spirit as well as those around you. Obedience is another key to walking in spiritual authority. Many people desire the benefits of God's protection, but resist the discipline that strengthens their relationship with Him. True authority grows when actions align with faith. When God guides you to step away from something harmful, obedience protects you. When He calls you to pursue something meaningful, obedience opens doors you could not force on your own. Trusting His direction may not always be comfortable, but it always leads towards growth. Chosen one, the unseen mark on your life was never meant to remain a mystery you simply wonder about. It was meant to become a reminder of who you are and who walks with you through every season. Darkness trembles not because you are perfect, but because the presence of God stands with those who trust Him. When you move forward in faith, you carry that presence into every environment you enter. And that presence changes things. It brings peace where fear once ruled. It brings truth where confusion once dominated. It brings hope where discouragement once lived. Even when you do not speak loudly, the way you live can influence others more than you realize. There will be people who encounter your life and begin questioning their own direction. There will be moments when someone finds encouragement simply by watching how you remain faithful during difficulty. There will be opportunities to guide others towards truth because they sense something different about your spirit. That is the purpose connected to the mark on your life. Not recognition, not pride, but influence that helps others move closer to God. So continue growing, continue praying, continue choosing truth, even when it requires courage. The same God who marked your life also walks with you as you fulfill the purpose He prepared. And if this message has spoken to your heart today, take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who may need the reminder that their life carries meaning. Subscribe to the Chosen Star if you want to continue growing in faith and understanding. Together, we are building a community of chosen ones who refuse to live in fear and who walk confidently in the purpose God has placed upon them. Chosen one, your story is not ordinary. The unseen mark on your life is proof that heaven has already claimed your future. Walk forward with courage, walk forward with faith, and remember that the presence of God goes with you wherever your path leads.